And good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Central Michigan Student Activity Center. Today, we are excited to bring you a absolutely thrilling match between your Central Michigan Chippewas and the Eastern Michigan Eagles. I am Lincoln Dodds, along with my commentating partner, Austin Williams. And Austin, how are you feeling today about this matchup?
Pretty good. It's the last stream of our spring semester.
Yeah.
I keep thinking it's winter for some reason, but
I think it's technically called the Winter Split. So last game of that, it's going to be been a long season so far, and I think they're really excited. They've had a couple of weeks now because they've already locked in playoffs. They've had a couple of weeks to play around with. What do you feel? How do you feel that it's the last week sort of in the playground? They're getting ready to go to playoffs. How do you feel about that?
I feel pretty good about CMU. I mean, we've had a much better semester this year versus our last season, and I think that comes down to some personnel. I think the team really wanted to improve over the course between last year, and we got a new coaching staff in place, and I think it's been phenomenal.
Yeah,
I think we made a lot of strides.
I think it's been absolutely fantastic, and we're hoping to see that continue today, continue to experiment in that sort of way. But we are going to get into draft number 1. We see the LeBlanc Thresh band out from CMU. Important to mention as we get to draft, we have a little bit of a personnel change. Joseph is currently studying diligently for finals, so he will not be here today.
Yes.
Especially because it's really just a play-around game, and so we have Maverick standing in for him in whatever role they may select. Eastern Michigan decides to ban out Rengar Pike and the Aurora as to really nobody's shock.
Yeah. We've seen these bands all season long after that third week. It's been pretty really like consistent with that. Aurora and Rengar especially. Sometimes we see the Braum there, but thing is that Rengar band's probably not doing much for against CMU this game as Pride's not here.
Yeah,
So
definitely. We're gonna see the Briar pick first. They were talking if Maverick was gonna play the jungle. We know he's gonna play the Briar. Not really shocking there. And the Wukong pick, maybe into an Orianna. What do you feel about the Briar Wukong matchup in the jungle?
I would definitely favor it a little bit towards Wukong. He has a little bit more control in those team fights, but that Briar is a very strong dive champion if CMU wants to kind of go down that route. It is a pretty difficult route to navigate, especially with CMU's, a little bit of history. We need to be really fast to react if we're going to get that dive going. Communication has to be clear.
Definitely, we're going to see a rise. So far, Eastern Michigan's draft has looked very uniform, very much like we would expect from the pro scene with the Briar. I mean, with the Rise, Wukong, pretty traditional combo, those two. They both scale relatively well. CMU kind of locking the Jhin here. Got some long range, but now we sort of know who the ADC is going to be. Who do you generally pick to counter the Jhin if you're Eastern Michigan in this situation?
So Jhin is somebody that really likes to stay far away from the fights. Somebody that likes to lock down targets. Usually you don't see him with the Briar as much. It doesn't really fit that personnel where you want the dive aspect. Everyone collapses on this one person. Jhin kind of fits it, like from the range, but typically you see him like a Kai'Sa or Samira if you're really, really brave. But I mean, Jhin is just a little different for my taste.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then we're going to see the brand most likely support.
It's going to be Evan. Evan was talking about it beforehand. He loves the brand pick. He's been playing it a lot. He's been playing it apparently on his Smurf account. He's been playing it a lot. So terrorizing some gold lobbies with it. And now it's going to make its way into today. Countered by Jhin is going to be playing a Yunara in that ADC lane, which is going to be an interesting sort of matchup.
Yeah, Yunara is a champion that wants to move forward and get in your face. I think that's a pretty big pick in the Jhin. I do think this brand will work well with the Jhin in the bot lane. I think CMU is going to hopefully dominate. Still has yet to be seen what Eastern's support answer will be for the laning phase. But Brandon Jhin has known to be pretty strong.
Yeah, what I was actually going to say right away is the Seraphine would be an excellent pairing for Yunara, and CMU also sees that, banning it out right away. Eastern Michigan deciding to ban out 2 supports. What do you think about that? I think they think the brand might be going into the jungle, or into mid lane.
Yeah, they must be thinking that. The other idea here is that Rise. CMU has yet to pick their mid laner, and that Rise has a lot of mobility. That global ult, very, very helpful for roaming. I wonder how CMU here is going to respond to that, because usually you want to respond to global with global. So maybe we'll see a Talia, maybe we'll see Twisted Fate. I don't know if that's in Greyson's player shape pool, but we'll see.
Yeah, Twisted Fate would be a good sort of matchup. Twisted Fate's ult is the exact same as Rise's essentially, except for he can't take multiple people with him, but like Rise can. So it's that ability to both be able to match each other is super essential, especially in a lane that's as interconnected as the mid lane is.
I also think the Galio here would actually fit really, really well into the dive comp. If that Briar is able to land an R, the Galio follows up, and the Galio does really well into the Rise comp. So that's what I'd like to see from Central here.
I think we're going to see a Rise versus Brand mid lane. Like the Karma, which Karma can also flex to mid lane. It wouldn't shock me to see that either. But overall, it's been sort of a more interesting draft so far for CMU. There's a lot of champions we very rarely see, and then one that we always do in the Horn pick, no shock there from at the top laner. And we are going to see he's hovering some champions that Gato would have a rough time dealing with, both the Smolder and the Vayne.
Yeah,
you have quite a lot of mastery on Vayne. Do you want to explain why that matchup is so bad for Gato?
Yeah, so Ornn is typically a tankier unit. You want to be your frontline. Vayne, if she's chosen here, doesn't look like she's going to be chosen.
The Camille. Camille is not a champion we've seen yet this year.
We have not. And so that's going to be pretty interesting. Camille's a pretty good lane bully. She's kind of up there with Darius. She can poke a lot. She's really good at those little trades. Ornn is too typically, but, with his pillars being made, Camille can sometimes use those to her own advantage. Jump off of them. She's kind of like the attack on type champion, as many people look at her kind of gear. It looks like that gear in that show. But that matchup is pretty favored towards Camille, as she's going to get a lot of just small trades and slowly wear this Ornn.
Yeah, the one thing that Camille's usually picked for is if you have champions that don't have a lot of escape tools. So we see the Jhin, we see the Brand, and we see the Karma War. 3 champions that her R is essentially a jail. She can
Yes.
lock you in, and obviously being locked in with a champion that's melee is really dangerous. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities for her to be able to find the back line in a very pivotal moment, especially in team fights. And I think that's what Eastern Michigan is looking to do with that Camille pick.
I think this Jins has 3 prime targets. He's got to really watch out for that. That Wukong, very scary. Camille, just as scary. And that Yunar is going to want to move forward through it all.
Yeah.
I think this Wukong Camille is going to do a really good job of paving the way for Yunar to take space. And that Lulu Enchanter is going to help a lot in the team fights.
Well, one of the unsung, you mentioned it, the Lulu, is going to be brilliant here because of the Ornn and Briar, who both want to get on top of the backline. And Lulu, when you pop ult, it gives a big knockup for everyone involved. And the Lulu pick will be able to sort of prevent any dive that they might be able to try to do with that knockup from the ult.
Yeah, and that polymorph. Sometimes if you're polymorphed right in the middle of the team, there's not much you can do and you just get bursted out.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the sort of how the teams are going to try to work individually, turn into the lanes, if it is indeed the Brand versus the Rise. It's not a matchup we really ever see outside of solo queue. So how would you expect that to sort of work between the two teams?
I actually do like Brand into the Rise a little bit. Rise is typically a short-range burst mage, but he also has the lockdown capability with his W and his group, as I'm sure many people are familiar with.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, Rise is
Rise.
The only thing as a Rise that sort of concerns me is their kits are awfully similar.
Yes.
Not in a wider way. The Qs that are generally weaker, but they can stun or proc stuns in Brand's case, and champions that are, you're really looking for the lockdown, but it's going to be an interesting attempt to try to keep that. Greyson in the mid lane is going to have to watch his range. Zoning and spacing is going to be how he's going to win this lane. Slowly burn him down until eventually nothing but ash on the ground, and then you're good to proceed forward. And it's really easy to eliminate a Rise early game, especially if you start to snowball up.
Yes, I think the Brand is winning exactly in that aspect, though. You mentioned it. He needs to watch the range. I think the Brand has a little bit more range. With his W, his Q is a longer range, I think, slightly over the Rise. But, especially when it comes to crowd control, like you were saying, Rise doesn't have a stun. Brand does. So if they get locked into a 1v1 where they're both in lane just shooting abilities at each other, Rise is not going to be able to respond at all. Meanwhile, Brand is just rooted, so he can still throw out abilities.
Yeah.
And, 1 to 2 seconds makes a lick of difference.
Exactly. The Brand, you can almost think of like the Brand as like the simpler version of Rise.
Yes.
Because Rise has the capability at the top end to be able to do insane burst damage that nobody can contend with. But the Brand has the ability to do the same sort of thing, but it's significantly less button presses. Brand is somebody that we suggest for players that are just getting into the game.
Yes.
If you're trying to learn jungle, if you're trying to learn mid lane, it's a good place to start and build. So the ability to be able to execute is going to be very important.
Mm-hmm. And I think looking at the jungle matchups a little bit too, I think the Wukong's going to slightly give the Rise a bit of an edge to lock down that target, but it remains to be seen how this Briar is going to work out.
Yeah, the Briar pick is a little bit unusual. It's easily seen. It's the fact that you can go just berserk and you can just, there's no button presses happening on the computer.
Let Briar take the wheel. It works.
It works very well. But CMU being able to sort of use that, especially on a champion that is, especially on a player that isn't as experienced in jungle, because we have Maverick subbing in today for Joseph Pride.
Yes.
Joseph Pride. And being able to play that is going to be a little bit unique. As we get into this game number 1, we are going to see that Intoner, the general support Maverick, he is going to be playing in that jungle role. So we're going to see how the turn sort of tunes out for today.
Yeah, as we get into it, pay attention here to a little bit of the differences in the rune selection mid lane. We do have the Arcane Comet coming out from Brand, which is going to offer him a little bit more damage in those little trades. While Rise is not going for like his short trade runes, Electrocute, instead opting for the Phase Rush. I think that Phase Rush is going to help him a little bit with dodging these Brand spells, but it's up to Greyswag to land those abilities.
Yeah, and we see it right there with just that one hit doing a fair bit of damage, especially at level 1 for him. The ability to be able to stack burns is going to be very important. It wouldn't shock me to see him go for more of a cheaper item to start out with. Just try to get a little bit ahead early, but I think the big portion where a lot of the action is going to happen is in this bot lane, as always.
Yes.
We're going to be looking for DV to really try to push his advantage, especially against Lulu, who realistically should have Blue scales extremely well, but her early game is not as good as a lot of the other, even Enchanters. She's one of the weaker Enchanters at early levels.
Mm-hmm. She does offer a lot of hidden poke damage, though. As, yeah, we're already seeing a bit of this effect going on in Rise, where he's getting slowly chunked down.
I should try to force. It wouldn't shock me to see Greyson try to force an early back here from the Rise. Being able to really try to take care of this lane early is going to be important, especially because one thing we haven't mentioned yet is Eastern Michigan, rank-wise and in solo queue, is significantly outmatched when it turns to CMU. And we do see a small engage there to force the heal out of Lulu here early. It should provide CMU with a good advantage, though they did trade barrier for heal here. In terms of those valuable summoner spells, would you rather have your heal kicked out first, or would you rather have barrier?
So I would rather hold on to my barrier, as it's kind of like a get out of jail card. Almost on the level of Flash, as your ADC is a pretty important player here, and you want to hold on to that summoner spell. Meanwhile, summoner spell into support, a little bit different of value there. You know, a kill into the Jhin is much more valuable than a kill into the Lulu.
Yeah, definitely. Looking at this early jungle play, we see both of them play very nice. They started opposite sides, full clear, and they're both going to take Scuttle very early without much contention. Looking to where you would expect to see the first blood, where do you think that first blood is going to happen?
Well, it's looking like Wukong might be looking for something here. If you will tune it in, we'll see the difference between a little bit of the experience for the junglers. Wukong opting for this deep ward right here, trying to give his team a little bit more, information about what's going on, while Briar just opts for the back.
Trying to get ahead in lane, and we can see there the relationship between the stun versus the root. If Greyson had a spell available at that time, he would have been able to continue damaging that Rise, while the Grant can continue throwing out spells while the Rise is forced to just sit there and be stunned, which is obviously a CC advantage. One thing to mention, though, is that his stun is significantly slower and takes a significantly shorter amount of time than Rise's root. Rise's root is an exceedingly long CC if you can land it at its short range. Looking at this top lane, we're seeing small leads develop into the farm all across the map. Gato able to remain relatively close with this Camille. One thing that's interesting is Gato is playing a champion as Ornn that is extremely teamfight focused. With that ult, with things like that, you're really looking to teamfight extremely well. Camille, I'm a little bit more unfamiliar with because it's just not a terribly common pick. But other than just trying to be almost an assassin in teamfights, she's looking to dominate lane a lot easier because being behind on Camille is really bad to being behind, comparatively to being behind.
Yeah, with Camille, you really want to be able to win those 1v1s, but you can't. You kind of lose a lot of value in those team fights. Meanwhile, Ornn always has his crowd control, always has that engage, always has that percent max health damage he's doing. So, if both of these top laners were to go behind, relative to everyone else in the game, that would be a win for the Ornn. At least in my books.
I think it would definitely be a win. If you're a juggernaut, regardless of what you are, you're a juggernaut regardless. As we're going to see a little bit of an engage here from the Wukong, forcing Flash here out of Raspberry. DV going to try to get a little bit back. He doesn't quite have his 4-shot combo charged, so he is going to have to really back off without a huge amount of engage. We did see the Yunara taking a good amount of damage, though. No summoner spells out from either team.
Yeah.
No summoner other than the Flash.
I was going to say, it does look like CMU here is looking to set up for Drake, but maybe they're going to opt against it. Big ult coming out from Gato, but it doesn't look like it's going to hold much value there, as Inferno's just able to calmly get away from that.
Yeah, I was going to say, Camille can really, even when you're knocked up with Camille, you can still throw out your W to be able to escape in that way, so it's a really hard thing to force. As we may see something brewing here in topside jungle, as we're going to see Briar attempt to invade here a little bit on the Wukong. Trying to see if something happened. Wukong fighting out. Maybe trying to land a little bit of a combo. Greyson's going to go empty, unfortunately, on 2 of the summoner spells. It's 2 of his spells, so he's not going to get much out of that trade. Intoner trying to force a little bit more in this game. Try to get a little bit ahead. He hasn't been able to do much as we enter the next phase of games. We see 3 of CMU's members.
Yeah, so far I think CMU's doing a good job of keeping pace. Where we are starting to kind of bleed out on CMU's side is this farm difference. I think Eastern is just doing a little bit better with their fundamentals, as there's a 1,000 gold difference between these teams just through creeps. creep scores adding up slowly but surely.
That's one of the things. CMU, they've been solid in being able to keep themselves in games when there's not a huge difference in terms of kills. We're going to see a big Rise combo, and we see there the upper end speed. Greyson may be dead here as he is going to get found by that Rise. Rise, a hyperscaler, is one of his titles, so you do not want that on that Rise right now.
Yeah, we're going to see a lot of value from that phase rush there, as Rise is just able to run right up to Greyson after he misses his abilities and just punish him for it.
Yeah, really, as we're going to see the pressure that Camille's able to really inflict on this ore, and Camille's forcing him back once more. One thing that Gato is doing extremely well this game that we haven't seen him do as well in the previous weeks is wave control. As we're going to see that big stick there from Intoner on that R, they're going to be able to find the Lulu quickly as it's going to go down. Wukong there to counter, finding Raspberry quickly. Raspberry after the side. You're going to see the flash return by Wukong to be able to find Raspberry to take out the kill. Here come the Yunara ult using that Kamehameha beam to secure the one, but they are going to be able to get out 1-for-1 for both teams, which started as a very successful trade for CMU, turning into more of a stalemate.
Yeah, just knowing where that Wukong was, he's just right place, right time for Eastern Michigan there, as he's able to clean up a potential losing situation and grab a kill of his own.
Definitely, as we're going to see Gato here in possibly a perilous position. He's going to be forced to flash quickly to avoid the solo kill in lane. He is very far down on farm, 79-49 in lane, which is equivalent to about a full kill worth of gold at this point. And he is about 2k. He's about 2 kills worth of gold behind. The Camille is content being able to sit in lane, continue to gain ahead on gold, and be able to sit there. As we're going to see her, in fact, proxy a wave, and she takes a wave before the first turret. And we're going to be just sitting out as Raspberry here is going to get caught out a little bit. Wukong and the Rise find him quickly. Raspberry trying to ward, not going to be able to, as we are going to see the Rise ult go empty. And unfortunately, Lance Romance, the Rise player, finding an additional kill. He is now 2-0 in lane and over 1k gold ahead of his lane opponent.
Yeah, Raspberry just getting caught out there a little bit in his own jungle by that Wukong. So much mobility and so much slow from that Wukong champion, just able to stay on top of his target. I feel like Greyswag just wasn't able to respond quite in time to save Raspberry.
Yeah, he was forced to push out. One of the things we sort of expect as Eastern Michigan's going to take this dragon here without any really contest from CMU, as they're not really able to without that support. But one thing that is really important for CMU is they're actually gain Void Grubs. I figured they would have tried to. If you don't even have vision on it, so they don't even know what they were attempting to.
Try to get something out of nothing.
It's not a bad situation. The one thing is, nobody really from CMU has the facilities really to be attempting to split push, which is what we want to do with Void Grubs. We do assist in some other ways. As we are going to see a small gank develop here in the top lane, that's not really going to be able to be. Maybe there is. Unfortunately, Camille going to find Intoner here quickly as we do see the R come out. Going to go empty there from the Briar. We may see a solo kill here as Gato forcing Inferno to try to jump out. We are going to see that Camille ult come out. We see Inferno bounce back once more. Gato is going to be there. He's going to get stunned underneath the tower as we do see the Wukong responding quickly. CMU sitting in a strong spot. They're going to be able to sort of sit out here as we are going to be found once again. CMU just not going to be able to get out as Inferno will secure the second. Another kill off the link. A little bit of an over pursue there from Raspberry. From Gato.
Yeah, this top laner Camille is just dancing on the edge of death there as Wukong able to clean up again.
And Lance Romance able to find yet another kill as Inferno finding the kill on Intoner. He is forced to do something as the Wukong was getting ready to tower dive him. And CMU just appears to lack direction here a little bit. Maybe lacking Pride's sort of influence in his sort of game planning that we've seen in the previous couple of weeks, as DV not going to be able to quite find much out of this trade, though it was a winning trade for CMU here quickly. Yeah. He's going to find the root here. He does have a good amount, forcing that shield out of Shambo, the Lulu player, and once again, the bot lane's going to come back to neutral, as we do see the invade from Yunara finding one. Raspberry not going to be is pretty much helpless in this situation, as we do see the Lulu ult come out. They decided to back off to preserve the health of Lulu here quickly. And an ult goes empty, though DV is going to be on such low health. The back is imminent from them.
Yeah, that Yunara really wanted to push forward. Could have been a kill if Lulu ulted just a little bit sooner. Both summoners on Eastern Michigan just opting to save their flashes. Not really want to go too far forward with it, as Yeah, I don't know if CMU is in a very happy state. This is a good time to mention, I'd like to say Eastern Michigan's team comp scales just a little bit better than CMU. So we're going to want to make some plays happen here and try and prevent just scaling. The longer the game goes on, I think the happier Eastern Michigan gets.
Briar is really a hindrance as Gato tries to find the Camille in lane coming back after those wood grubs. He's going to have great amounts of damage. We see the Briar ult come in from the back line. A little bit of a late ult there from Gato as he's not able to really get much out of it. Greyson also trying to make something happen. But there's just the same miscues that we saw in previous weeks. We've seen developing a little bit more as this team's gotten a little bit more in sync. They're in sync in what they want to do. There's just miscues especially between mid laners and the other side lanes.
Yeah, it looks like Rise was veering down top bot lane to see if he could make any plays happen, but DV and Raspberry able to really quickly respond to that, make sure nothing could happen.
Yeah, DV, then they're going to try to find something here. We see Intoner just trying to prevent the proxying angle here from Camille. He's not going to do terribly much with it. As the gold lead in top lane is sitting around a 2k, Greyson forced a flash as Wukong being hyper aggressive there. As we're going to see the pure damage coming out from Rise. He's going to try to tower dive. He may be dead here. He's not. He's just going to be sitting on just the edge of life as he is confident as he's going to back here quickly, probably for his second item of the day, sitting at 2k lead in front of Greyson at this point.
Yeah, not the lead you want to have on a Rise, especially.
Yeah.
Rise, his Qs will just hit harder and harder, and his teamfight ability is just pretty massive if everyone groups up.
Yeah, you pick the champion for the teamfight ability, for the ability to be a super hyper flexible, especially in situations where you probably shouldn't win. And Rise just has that clutch factor in him that if it's him against two other players, especially those that are not fed, I would take the Rise in that situation all the time, even at 2-0.
Yeah, we've seen the Messi on the Rise. He makes some pretty incredible plays sometimes.
Yeah. Earns that nickname every single day, and it wouldn't shock me to see those sort of plays here, as we are going to see
in the top lane here. Wukong send up for a dive here as Camille slow pushes his way in.
We are going to see the Rise in here from assistance as well. Gato here not going to be able to do a whole lot as he's going to get the double knockup. He's going to be found quickly. He's just going to be completely left hanging. Unfortunately, he's not going to be able to have much work there. Nothing really to review there either, as it's one of those situations that you find yourself in, and it's just an unfortunate sort of situation.
Yeah, it looks like CMU is going to be able to pick up this Drake, but don't know if anything else is going to come for it. The lane that, Hextech Soul, not Hextech, but Cloud Drake Soul looks like.
Yeah, I think. Cloud Drake, they're going to try to find it quickly. 2% ult. They're going to find it quickly, trying to find Intoner here quickly. He's not going to be able to find much out of it, as they are going to find that big Jhin ult, trying to find the Jhin Q, as DV finds an additional one in the bot lane. Great engage, as we may see the fight continue here quickly, as we see the Jhin ult not going to be able to get much. Briar goes empty, and overall, a pretty solid moment there from CMU. Good team fight, finding them a little bit sort of underprepared, as we may be able to take a look at that really quickly here. Maybe not. As we're
maybe not. Interesting.
As we are going to get right back into the game here quickly. Overall, CMU is in a precarious spot, though. That was a good team fight they take, and they're going to be able to continue to sort of do that. Overall, they're going to be looking to dominate the river spaces. So right where Briar's at currently, this region, they're going to be looking to try to dominate this region here quickly and try to be able to continue to make things happen through those river regions where they have proven to be very strong.
Yeah, I think knowing that those three laners were top lane, just diving that Ornn, I think CMU was pretty confident in taking that fight, knowing that there were only two, at least immediately there, that could contest. So, very good fight from CMU there. And they were able to slim that goal difference down a little bit. I think it was 7,000 before that fight, going down to 4.8. Not too bad.
Yeah, and they're going to be looking to take the Herald here, which should make the next Dragon fight easier. One thing to see is that DV is currently fighting a 2v1 in the mid lane, and he has
3v1.
Potentially a 3v1. We're going to see the Wukong here set up for a dive in mid lane. Overall, we're going to see him just get ready, taking those Krugs here and taking those chicks here in just a second. Overall, we are going to see the quick find, not going to decide going to decide to sort of avoid the dive quickly as we see Intoner trying to find that mid sort of lane. And overall, we're looking at more of a game sort of leveling out. Both teams trying to slow it down a little bit, just getting the flow of things. And CMU appearing to be a little bit ahead in terms of objectives so far.
Just a little bit. It's going to be a little bit of a slower session as we wait for this break to spawn up in 2 minutes. We've also got to have our eyes ready for that Baron. It's going to be up in 3 minutes here.
That would not shock me with the gold lead that Eastern Michigan has. If they were trying to force it with all 5, just fully send it in. It doesn't do that much damage, so it's a good time to find us. We're going to see a 3-man dive here from Eastern Michigan. Great connection there as Raspberry's there. Intoner not going to really have enough stopping power to really be able to prevent anything. And CMU continues to fall a little bit behind. It's one of those weird situations where they're losing the neutral game, which is not something we've seen a whole lot from them. Usually their strongest part has been these neutral moments where they're just trying to determine tempo. They haven't really been able to do that.
Yeah, this Wukong here, wherever he goes on the board is going to be pretty impactful as he's pretty far ahead right now. And I think that his team fight capability is a lot more than Briar's. That Briar cannot land an R. There's no hope of her matching Wukong.
Yeah, one of the things we can see with Rise, we can see with a lot of other mid laners is he can be taking these buffs. He has the damage, especially at the point where he's fed, is he can go through and he can make Briar's life so much harder because he can take jungles by himself, which is not something that a lot of other mid laners can do. Brand is actually one of them. Greyson hasn't been in the angle to be able to do that yet this game.
Yeah, he just has so much extra damage. Very, very flexible kit he has.
And we can see that down here at the bottom. We can see the Seraph's Embrace and the Rod of Ages. Rod of Ages has been stacking up already compared to just the one solo item here from Greyson. Overall, that is a full item lead, and that should mean that he can take on Greyson and have some change for a support or another lower gold person to really start fighting with.
Yeah, as it does look like all tier 1 turrets are down. Tier 2 turrets are down in the bot lane. And CMU is just opting to farm, opting to play it slow. You know, let the waves come in and hopefully respect.
We can see here the Eastern Michigan team is not letting them do that. They're going to try to fight them on every little thing as the Wukong keeps diving in, getting a little bit of a bump. As we're going to see the dive in here from Briar, finding that Wukong. He's just going to ult out immediately as Briar not going to be able to find much quickly, though we are going to see a great engage here, finding that Unara, who's going to get that Lulu ult, just barely keeping him alive, as Lance Brown Camille finds another one. Yes, he's going to get 2, and that is a very scary, very, very scary rise here, as they're going to be able to find one. Drywall takes out Intoner in the 1v1, and this team fight started. Once again, the engage was really good from Briar. It was a little bit shaky. We looked at it to be a little bit shaky, but eventually it worked out as Gato here is going to try to get a little bit more for his bit of money. He's not going to be able to find much as CMU goes 4 for 1 in the team. Not a trade you want to see at all.
Yeah, especially with that Camille still staying alive. She's very notorious for being a strong split pusher. He's got a lot of damage on those turrets, and Ornn is not going to be able to match that whatsoever. He's got a Rise on his hands in the mid lane, and so this Camille's going to be left unpunished. Getting a lot of damage on that tier 3 turret, knocking on that door of CMU's home base.
Definitely, as we're going to see, we should probably identify what the tier turrets are. So we can see tier 2 turrets are right here, and we can see the tier 1 turrets right there, which are, they're both important, but it's important that we get that terminology just because of how much we refer to them as the tier 2 and the tier 3 turrets. Overall, DV is going to try to enter a sort of calm. Now is the point where scaling comes hyper important. Rise is the hyperscaler along with Vizier, which we haven't seen yet this year. But so is Unara. Unara in that bot lane turns into a menace as soon as she hits her 2 items, and she has hit them at this point and is on her way to boots at this point.
Yeah, as we're going to see this Camille. Whenever there's an open lane, I think she's going to opt to go for it. Split push it, and then find something. As Greyson's trying to go and catch the waves, they're going to punish this movement from Greyswag.
As we are going to see a quick engage there from the Camille finding that backline, as we saw, popping that all right away, going to not let him get out. As CMU going to get dove under tower here, a 4-man dive. Camille's going to find once again. She does have that Guardian Angel, which gives her an extra revive, so she can be as reckless as she wants to. It wouldn't shock me to see another dive here on Gato if he has to back off. He's going to try to back up that tower as CMU has 30 seconds, well, 16 seconds until DV's out. If they're going to try to hold this a little bit, Gato's going to have to sit under tower to avoid a tower dive as the Herald comes out.
Yeah, Herald's coming there to help out Gato, I guess.
Herald, that's a little bit of a weird placement for Herald.
That's what happens when you just don't use it and you're dead. Can't use it. Spawns in the fountain with you. As we're going to see Eastern probably pick up this Baron here.
See a massive Baron a push here. CMU not going to really be able to contest. You can see them. Baron is here in the corner, and they're going to obviously take it. CMU is fully stuck chasing this Camille here in bot lane. Which is not ideal for any aspect of the Central Michigan team, and they're really going to stop trying to hold on during this Baron period. The Baron power play of about 3 minutes. Overall, what do you think the route is here for CMU to be able to hold on?
CMU here is going to have to find some magic, as it is a 16,000 gold difference. There's a Baron buff, and all of these champions are looking very strong on Eastern's side of the field. I think a very simple strategy that the Camille here is doing is she's trying to push out a wave individually, and then as she pushes out that wave, she rotates as somebody from CMU goes to catch it. And I think if CMU is able to be proactive and get it early...
They're going to find an engage here, though. Intoner biting off a little more than he can choose. He finds 2. We do see Greyswag try to stick in as we see that Luo come out. That's wrong with the Wukong out finding another one. 0 finds Greyswag as they're going to look to chase him out. Raspberry here on a little bit of a last stand. Unfortunately, not going to be able to do much. And he's going to also fall as CMU falls to the ace. And that will be the end of game 1 here as minion waves come in. And they are going to be looking here to quickly end. CMU struggling to get traction, struggling really to make anything happen in game 1 as we are going to be looking for a game 2. CMU falls 0-1.
Yeah, very clean game from Eastern Michigan. You know, they got that early game lead and they never really let go of it. They held on tight. I think all their lanes did very well and they knew their identities and they made use of it.
Yeah, they sort of did what we keep doing to some of the teams that we beat. They knew what they needed to do. They slowed the game down. They knew who to play around. They played around that Rise really well.
Yes.
And they knew how to bait the team into doing some of the plays that ended the game. They really knew what they were doing. And they were really able to choke the life out of CMU, especially in the end stages there.
Yeah, just like those little things. Raspberry getting caught out on his rotation. You know, Ornn getting caught out when Rise wants to go and dive with the Wukong. I think the Wukong, the jungler there, was actually pivotal in the Eastern success there. He found a lot of the little picks that slowly grew and snowballed until CMU could no longer respond.
Yeah, they were very, very solid. And yeah, the Wukong, I think, was definitely the player of the game for the Eastern Michigan team. CMU, I'm not sure we can really identify a player of the game for that game just because it was a little bit rough all the way around, but we sort of expect it. Lacking Pride, who has really been the key, the heart of this team so far this year. Lacking him this game is proving to be a little bit detrimental to be able to make anything happen. That definitely shows. But we're going to see how the team continues to adapt and continue to try to improve before going to playoffs. And we will see that in game 2, which we will show to you guys here in just a little bit, stuttering a little bit, as we are going to see you guys here in just a minute. Thank you very much, and stay with us for game 2. And welcome back, everyone, and welcome to the Student Activity Center. Today, we are excited to bring you Game 2 of Eastern Michigan versus Central Michigan as we get straight into Game 1. As soon as we get straight into Game 2, is the draft going on currently as we speak. We're going to jump right into it. How do you feel about that first game?
First game was a very swift and decisive victory for Eastern Michigan as they were able to, even like minute 30 in, they're already being proactive with their movements, dropping those deep wards. I don't know if Central was able to, respond. I don't know if they warded deeply all game, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I think the one opportunity we saw was with Intoner, and he wasn't able to make much happen. We are going to see the same three bans from Eastern Michigan. The target ban onto Pride with...
without Pride.
Yeah, I would say with Rengar, without Pride being present. Rengar anyway, we are going to see Aurora and the Pike go out, and then CMU going to ban two of the same with Thresh LeBlanc, but they're going to choose to ban out Mbessa as the third. It is interesting to see the Mbessa ban. It's very popular currently. It's I think it is the highest picked top laner in low queue. As we're going to see a Heimerdinger come out, the Doctor himself, straight from Arcane. That is a champion we never see. The Turret Meister himself.
Wow, Turret Meister is out. As I do think the CMU and EMU might be flipped.
No, they are.
EMU is I don't think EMU picked Heimerdinger. So
no, they did.
Did they?
Yeah.
Oh yes, they did.
It could be going top lane, which is a little bit...
Yeah, I wonder where that Heimerdinger is going to be stuck, because he's typically a top laner, but could be a mid laner. Or support. You're
really brave.
You're very brave.
Yeah, I was going to say, Fury locked in. Yes, immediately, as soon as he saw the Heimerdinger, he's like, Fury is going to eat into this matchup. He just has a lot of... He can lock onto targets and then immediately dive, which is really strong about Fury. And we could see the Nami pick here for Raspberry to sort of lock in on. Not incredibly shocking there, as we know Raspberry does love his enchanters.
Yeah, I wonder if DV here is going to look for the Lucian angle at all. Another strong pairing that I at least know of in Spokesdale is Quirky, but I cannot imagine DV is very familiar with that champion. I don't think I've seen him play it. So we might just be looking at the Lucian angle here.
I would love to see the Lucian angle. You can walk him down, which is always a favorite sort of task. And you have the double guns, which is so much fun.
Procs that Nami bubble and procs that Nami E very well. Getting close helps Nami's W. I mean, their kits just work so well. They're interwoven with each other.
As we are going to see the Skarner pick come out here from 2. Another champion that's not as seen almost anywhere. The Skarner sort of sits in the middle of being a tank with not really the damage that we like to see out of any tanks. Has a good amount of utility, being able to grab people. But it's going to be a little interesting there. As we're going to see the Varus pick. We have 3 champions that could play top lane at this point. Varus can be flexed, the Skarner pick, and the Heimerdinger. So Gato has to be very heads up how he does this. Ziggs pick wouldn't shock me into this comp. Being able to poke. We saw this exact matchup last week. Varus and Ziggs. We saw it last Wednesday against Ball State. And overall, CMU didn't get a lot out of the matchup. But we could be seeing a smolder. Or we can go with the choice that we would like to see.
There's the Lucian. There's the Lucian. I do like that CMU picked that up right before these second bans. The second ban phase here, as it would have been a very easy ban for Eastern Michigan to just simply say, nope, no Lucian for you. And I think this Varus pick from Eastern is also going to do pretty okay. If he is able to land the R and lock down this Lucian, that'll be critical.
Yeah.
However, this Lucian can't just move forward, similar to how the Unara did last game.
Definitely, as we're going to see the Seraphine ban come out. The one thing about the Lucian is before level 6, he is really strong. He doesn't scale quite as hard as other ADCs do, but pre-level 6, he is, other than Draven, probably the strongest singular ADC in the game. I think Kalista might give him a run for his money at level 1, but he is one of the stronger ADCs at level 1 through 3.
Definitely has a lot of 2v2 advantages, especially with that movement. That ability to chase the target down, it helps a lot.
Yeah.
Very much so.
As we are going to see the Scion ban come out. Not a huge shocker there, banning out another one of Gato's champ pool. As Gato's champ pool it's not as wide as a lot of the other players, so if you're looking from an enemy team perspective, it makes a lot of sense to ban around, as you've mentioned with some of the more competitive games that we played, you always want to ban around the player with the smallest champ pool.
Yeah, it definitely strikes the hardest there, as CMU is probably going to be looking at the Gato's Gragas or Krzciok at this point. Those are the only champions we've been familiar with. Seen them, we know they're safe picks for him, he's comfortable. As they're probably deciding right now whether to pick the mid and or the top.
Yeah, I think it's confident to say that the Skarner is going to go into the jungle. It does exist in top lane occasionally, but it's a little bit of a weird pick. As we're going to see the Azir.
Wow, very interesting. As Noah Greyswag, not very fond of this pick sometimes, but it could work out very well into the Skarner pick.
And the Heimerdinger. I mean, you have the two champions that really have a lot of minions.
Yes, very control-heavy champions. This Azir is able to quickly shuffle them into a spot that they don't like. It could work really, really well in CMU's favor, especially if you're shuffling them right into Lucian's face, into Nefiri. It works.
Definitely. So we are going to see the Blitzcrank pick come out. It's a very strong pick into this comp because you have now 3 champions that you can grab and are going to be hyper effective. And it wouldn't shock me to see the Vayne pick here, as if you're going to build around that. We see the Teemo pick. It's going to be very unfortunate. Doesn't really not seen a whole lot, but it does indeed counter the Azir a little bit because his soldiers do indeed miss when he's blinded. So it's a little bit of a weird pick, as we are going to see the Akali pick, a very pro style mid lane.
Yes.
As Azir Akali is a matchup that is old as League of Legends itself.
Very classic counter pick into the Azir. Don't know if Greyson's going to be very happy with that one, as we're going to wait to see what Gato's response is to this Heimerdinger.
Yeah, it's going to be weird. Usually you want to play a champion with a lot of engage against a Heimerdinger because you can run in, get a lot of damage. What immediately comes to mind for me is Yone, but I'm not sure he has that in the champ pool.
I think he's thinking Gragas.
He's going to go Gragas. We do see the Yone pick come out. Yone is a very strong pick against Heimerdinger because they have the ability to go in and out very easily.
It's going to be a great
lot of burst damage.
Yeah, I just didn't think that Gato really had it for him, but I think it's going to work great, hopefully. You know, that ability to just dive in onto the Heimerdinger at a moment's notice. As soon as that Heimerdinger is able to get most of his damage out with his grenade, Yone's usually able to recall pretty back for a favorable trade. So it should work out pretty well for him.
Yeah, CMU has a very pro-style comp here. They have the Azir, Lushanami, as you mentioned, is a very, very old comp, very, very competitive comp. And then the Yone is somebody that we see a lot more in mid lane, but he can play top, especially in those top tiers. And against the Heimerdinger, why not? I mean, the Heimerdinger is, I think, his actual best matchup in the champion because Yone is just so strong against that. If you can think of somebody that's better than Yone, other than maybe Yasuo, his brother.
Yasuo's probably it.
I was going to say, it's not a lot of, I mean, it's a very favorable lane for Gato, at least it should be, but at least one that's very exciting for us, as there's going to most likely be a lot of kills one way or the other.
I want to say, as we're looking at this CMU draft here, the one thing that comes to mind is that we don't really have a tank to fall behind. That's kind of like looking at them as a front to back comp. CMU does not have any shield in front of them, and that's kind of the cost of picking this young. You're going to have a lot of damage, but in those bigger team fights, Eastern's going to be able to, you know, lead the way with this Blitzcrank, pave a way with this Skarner. CMU has to kind of find somebody, find a straggler, and just send it. You know, Nefiri has to go in, Yone has to go in, Azir has to go in. Everybody's collapsing.
They're going to have to rely on that sort of miscommunication between Eastern Michigan. Maybe they have one guy that gets caught out like we saw a couple of times last game, and they're going to have to full send it. Their goal is going to be able to get one and then get out quickly. With the amount of movement that this team has, they have 4 members with dashes outside of Nami, and Nami obviously has her tidal wave, which is a giant escape tool, but CMU is going to have a ton of dashes in this match with a huge amount of mobility.
Yeah, if this Varus does decide to go Arcane Comet and poke, it's going to mean a lot of difficulty for CMU, as typically you need somebody to face check those bushes. You need somebody to get the vision, know where people are, like when they're getting ready for a team fight. And if Varus is there by the front line, you know, he's going to do a lot of damage.
Yeah, one thing about Varus in this situation, Varus builds AP when there's a lot of tanks on the team. Does all his damage, at least his percentile damage, comes from having higher attack power. So it wouldn't shock me to see him go something like lethal tempo, maybe press the attack, something with a little bit more oomph in lane, to be able to compensate for that poor lane.
Personally, I would opt for the Arcane Comet, as I think it's going to provide more poke, but either way, we should see an attack damage Varus here.
Yeah, we are going to see that lethal tempo come out from him, as we're looking for a massive inmate. Great sidestep there from Greyson to be able to avoid the Blitzcrank hook, as he really gets out unscathed, but a little bit of a jump scare there for it. He's probably breathing a little faster now.
Yeah, as he opts to just save the flash. Very, very confident as he does type in chat the LMAO for that.
Definitely Intoner here is going to just try to type for taking his comp camps. You think he's going to full clear it? Do you think he's going to try to invade the bot lane? Try to invade a little bit to no avail as they're going to start the same side. We're going to see both junglers start top lane, cut down, and then immediately just take their scuttles like gentlemen. They're not going to try to do anything terribly engaging. They are going to hit each other on that scuttle a little bit, which could cause a little bit of damage, but I think that Fury's clear is significantly faster than Skarner's is. And you're the jungler here, so who do you think has a faster clear?
I think that clear rate...
The danger here, DV is going to get caught out, forced barrier quickly, as they do trade the ignites, both summoner spells out from the Blitzcrank, as we're going to see that a quick poke out. As I just noticed something very critical. That is an Akali top. Akali Yone into a Heimerdinger Azir bot. There's going to be minions everywhere on that mid turret. Nobody is really going to want to engage either of them as they sit mid. At least this jungler. It's going to be a very mono type lane.
Yeah, it's a little interesting as I think this Yone should normally be pretty happy into this matchup against Akali. But this Akali, very tricky champion, very easy to sometimes find some other angle.
You're going to see DV here. It's just going to get poked out. This Varus has a good amount of damage on him as he might be looking to set up. Raspberry here is going to have an issue as that Blight is now fully stacked. He is going to be able to get out just in the nick of time as the Skarner finds top lane here. Top lane, I believe, here early as the bot lane is also under siege. Varus here sitting here trying to find an additional one. There's the Blight as Zero finds DV quickly. That a little bit of lacking of spacing on DV, a little bit of lack of awareness really cost him there early.
Yeah, we are going to see the damage from the Varus' lethal tempo. Very strong early game rune. Able to make those early game trades that much more favorable. Blitzcrank also bringing the ignite. Pretty big spell into the heal from the Nami and the sustain that she usually provides. It's just making that 2v2 a little more difficult, a little more even than it should be. I think Lucian Nami should normally have this one under control, but that's tough. That's a tough matchup.
Yeah, the one thing is the Varus does do really well into Enchanters because of what you mentioned with that wound with his W. And I think he knew that picking into the matchup. And I think, based on what we see in front of us with their team comp, I think they were planning on doing like a mass flex. We're going to see a big engage, finding Raspberry here early. Raspberry going to get caught out a little bit on those squishier supports. We see Blitzcrank chasing. Lance Romance finds the Raspberry, and he is going to be just in a rough spot as Intoner may be looking for a little bit of looking to protect himself a little bit as Blitzcrank decides not to pursue, as Greyson's just going to have to shove in this wave.
Yeah, Raspberry just getting caught by that Blitzcrank hook there. Not what you want to see.
Blitzcrank hook again, finding it, yet another one, as we are going to see EV. We're showing the effects of Lucian there quickly, finding, even though he was 2v1, I think he actually ended up winning that trade in terms of total damage out.
Yeah, so we're going to see he's dashing forward a little bit. This Blitzcrank, just keep in mind of those cooldowns, as Blitzcrank doesn't look like he has his hook quite ready.
Yeah, being able to time that cooldown, managing cooldowns is one of the more advanced tactics in League, and being able to sort of find your opportunities is going to be really difficult. But the real problem that's developing is that CMU is down 1k gold, so you find that engagement from the Blitzcrank, Zero able to find the second gold. Once again, that Varus is proving to be a problem. Is this, and I believe I might be myself in this, is this a lethality Varus game?
Most likely. I would like to see a lethality Varus if I was Eastern Michigan. As we are going to see a little bit of a dive here. Skarner able to find that stun Akali E coming out, and there's no room for Gato to respond at all.
Yeah, I was going to say that Akali E really sealed the deal, as that's a good dash combined with a dash from, not really the dash, more like the run forward from the Skarner. It's just huge dive potential. And I think at this point we can assume that Drywall is going to really try to, he's going to be looking for diving all the time. He's going to be looking for, hey, can I find something that's out of nothing? And I think that's a great example of that.
Yeah, junglers from Eastern Michigan really pivotal in both these games so far. Even just already on the board, he's picking up kills. I think the second kill onto Yone top. He's not going to have a very fun game being able to farm. I mean, we can see it already. There's a bit of a 30 CS gap starting to form. And that's, every 15 farm is about a kill's worth.
Yeah, as we see the Blitzcrank here rotating up top, rotating up the river that we've seen. And he's going to be able to help Lance Romance pull him underneath those turrets of Heimerdinger and really just shred the Azir. The Blitzcrank so far has been the scariest part for CMU. as he's going to return to lane, probably looking for another grab here, as he is going to find DV here quickly. Lucian doesn't have a great dash to go over walls. He's going to be able to find it there quickly, as once again, this Blitzcrank able to make an impact on the map. If you're looking to make impacts with supports, and there's nothing more embodying of that, as DV is going to get knocked up. We're going to see Zero trying to find an angle here as he's going to flash in, and DV not able to find much as he's going to go down. Grassman maybe looking for a trade here. He does not have ult quite yet at level 5, so there's not going to be much to be able to secure it here quickly, as we do see the Nefarious sitting in. He should have a good angle here. Going to pop his W a little bit prematurely, I think. He does not have ult yet, I do not believe. At level 5, he needed to take that Scuttle. If he were to take Scuttle, he would be at level 6.
Yeah, and we will see that whole trade happened bot lane. Normally, it's very favored for Lucian and Nami, but moments before, that Lucian had to pop his barrier because of that grab over the wall by Shambu.
We're going to see another tower dive brewing as Gato trying to get out. He is going to be able to pop that ult. He's not going to have much, though, as we see that Akali with just 2 items and a Dark Seal going to be able to do so much damage onto that Yone, and he's really going to be in a tough spot now. Now 1k gold down to a champion that can be ultra oppressive into champions like Yone that have to get up close.
Yeah.
We are going to see maybe a steal here brewing as red team CMU able to secure the quick dragon for them. The Fury trying to get out using that invulnerability for just a moment, as Greyson's going to use his W to escape. Unfortunately, Intoner not so lucky, as he's just going to get knocked up and sort of taken out of the game here by Blitzcrank, as Lance Romance eventually finds a Fury, and it is turning into a little bit of a rout here. CMU in a tough spot once again.
Yeah, kind of a rough mistake here coming out from Intoner Zero, as you know you're finishing up that Drake, you know the Blitzcrank is there, he wants to hook you. You got to be ready with either your flash or your W as Nefiri, as that will help you dodge that ability.
As we are going to see another find here. This Blitzcrank is a monster, as Zero once again finds an additional kill. 5-0 now in the bot lane is absolutely terrifying for Varus, and it's looking like CMU, the lead is falling further and further behind. It's turning into a rough game out there currently from them.
Yeah, every lane respectively, at least about a 1k difference. It's going to be pretty hard for CMU to find their way to get back into this one, as that is a Yone with just 30 farm at the 9-minute mark.
That is rough. Even looking across the alley at there, you get Kali with 79 farm. Even looking at the worst member farm-wise of the Eastern Michigan team, 7. The Yone is really being forced off lane now that he's behind on this Kali. Overall, CMU is looking for mistakes here. They've got to play scrappy at this point if they want to try to get an opportunity to get back in this game.
Yeah, it is time to look for some desperate measures. This is the time where you're going 4-man bot, 4-man top if need be. You are looking for anything that you can use to potentially get into this game.
And definitely, as we're going to see, the Azir is a little bit of it's a unique pick. You mentioned how Greyson hasn't played it a whole lot in terms of competitive like this, as we are going to see the Blitzcrank going to be tampering a little bit with Intoner's jungle. Can use Blitzcrank hook on it twice, as they may be looking to hunt here a little bit. Skarner and Blitzcrank looking to steal. Intoner here trying to contest, which is a little bit to me, as DV finding one, as we already see a 3-man find early. Overall, CMU in a great spot, as Intoner going to go down. Unfortunately, DV just not going to be able to puncture through that Skarner. It's not going to be able to do much, as CMU in a tough spot.
Yeah, very big win for Eastern there. 3-0 in their CMU's jungle. I don't know if CMU's going to be able to even farm in their own jungle anymore, as this Blitzcrank has just been everywhere this game.
Blitzcrank, Skarner has not been that present, but he is solid so far, and he has been it's where I know what Skarner needs. He's just been a tank. He's been okay, but he just isn't. He doesn't have he hasn't had quite the omnipresence that the other team has had. As we are going to see a shuffle come in from Greyson, not going to be able to find much. As we are going to see Greyson caught out a little bit, as they're going to choose not to tower dive. We are going to see a 2-man dive here, as we are going to see a little bit of an engage here. They're going to choose not to back out, as Inferno finds another kill on Gato top, now moving himself to 5-0 in top lane as well. CMU in a tough spot, as the Blitzcrank finds another one once again, taking out Greyswag, and this is turning into a little bit of a disaster. without pride, it appears this team lacks a little bit of direction, and it shows really how good he has been this season, with how much this team is sort of they need him as the clear. That is the clear message from both of these teams.
Yeah, that jungle role, so impactful. As you see, it's just getting everywhere on the map. Wherever Blitzcrank isn't, Skarner usually is, and now they're meeting up together to find this Lucian who's stuck.
Yeah, I was going to say, just stepping up a little bit too far. Not a ton of vision in the jungle just because of the aggressiveness of the CMU team. And they are really, it just seems like this Blitzcrank and Skarner are turning into just, they're everywhere. As Inferno finds another kill on to Yon top. And this is turning into a little bit of a disaster for CMU as they're sort of lacking much initiative here. They're not going to be able to do very much across the map. There's just not much to say, unfortunately, right now for them.
I will say for Eastern, biggest thing that they're doing to keep this game going is they're taking space. We got to talk about that whole idea of the second they feel strong, they are immediately invading and they're trying to get as much vision on the board as possible, and they want to take space. And they're very good at collapsing on it too. Heimerdinger's very quick to move, Skarner's there, Blitzcrank is there. Varus and Akali just have to play their own lanes on the edges, but everything that's happening in the middle is this well-oiled machine where they're all working together. We're going to see it here again. Blitzcrank is here. Skarner sees it. He's responding to it, if need be. But, once again, Heimerdinger's here. Everything is just kind of working together in correspondence with this Blitzcrank, as they're able to pick up another kill on the Fury.
Yeah, it's turning into a little bit of a... Eastern Michigan is a well-oiled machine, and they are a newer program on the team in terms of being a very good program. They, in the previous years, have been sort of in the same boat as us at a few finds, as we are going to see a good find there from the Nami bubble, not being able to exploit it too much as DV. You can see just the amount of damage that comes out. Blitzcrank just going to step a little bit forward. He has a lot of damage, as you may be able to find a quick little kill here. Both bubbles come out. Unfortunately, the Akali is there to clean up both, as Raspberry not able to find much as 0. Once again, gets another one. We see another example of just the ability to be able to collapse. Eastern Michigan had a great amount of... That fight initially looked very bad for them. That Nami bubble from Raspberry was beautiful, but then they weren't able to quite clean it up fast enough, and that allowed that Eastern Michigan team to be able to come in quickly and really end the ordeal.
Yeah, it went from a 2v1 in CMU's favor to a 2v3 in a blink of an eye. I think this unsealed spellbook from the Blitzcrank, not something you see super often, but it's been very impactful with this teleport.
It's getting more and more common, as we are going to see an engagement here from Intoner onto the Akali. A little bit strange as he's going to be chose to dash out. We see a little bit of a miscommunication there between Greyswag and the Intoner, Maverick, as he's going to get shoved directly on top of the person he was running away from, and it's just turning into a little bit of a miscue fiesta here from CMU so far.
Yeah, you're probably a little upset, as the person that was chasing him down was shoved on top of him. There's just a lot of vision, a lot of space being taken by Eastern Michigan. CMU is not going to be able to make a move without Eastern getting notice of it.
Yeah, exactly. There's not going to be much that Central does that Eastern doesn't know that's happening. There's not going to be an angle here. I don't think Intoner can even probably try to take a jungle camp without them trying to collapse on him quickly. And so they're going to just be in a tough spot here as we see a 4v4 in the bot lane developing. Here comes the Varus up lane. Intoner trying to find something, but that Blitzcrank there's no more valuable time right now than the Blitzcrank, as if he catches any of the 4 of them, it's almost immediate death.
Yeah, you can see Eastern grouping up together to see if they can get something. Blitzcrank.
Gato just going to get found here as Drywall finds the Yon once again. Top lane. The Yon pick was great in theory. It just hasn't been executed horribly well so far. He hasn't been able to make much happen, as Drywall just going to be able to sort of play the tank role, as we see Heimerdinger grab it. As we do see the Blitzcrank do come in, he's going to find him quickly as DV trying to find that bot lane. A 3-man ult from the Skarner, as it's going to really just collect them all into the hands of that Heimerdinger.
To clean up.
Lance Bromance finding another one, as we see Inferno here just waiting for them. CMU has pretty short respawn timers at this point, as we do see the engage there from Yon trying to find it onto that Heimerdinger. Heimerdinger does have a good amount of heft to him, as he's going to be able to just sort of stand there with not a ton of damage.
Yeah, Shurima Shuffle is going to come out, but not going to find anyone. Great idea from Greyswag there, but Short, sadly, just the execution not quite there.
And one thing to note is Lucian does not have his first item yet.
Yes, it is very much an uphill battle for CMU here. At this point, it is very hard to come back from this one, as we are going to see the quest rock from DV there.
Thinks he will have enough gold to go buy his first item when he wants.
Yes.
Which is good, as DV is going to step up here, which is a little bit of a concerning angle, as he does not have, he has nowhere to run. If the Eastern Michigan team decides to step up here, as we may see it in the bush there, he does see it as well. As Skrunner reveals himself on that ward, as CMU is going to be forced sort of in a last defense here overall, and Intoner stepping through the jungle. He isn't able to stay off vision a little bit. He might be looking to try to solo this dragon, which is a little bit of a interesting play at this point, as DV trying to find, he finds two in the backline. Raspberry just getting caught out a little bit here. He's going to be able to pop ult as Lance takes one of them. DV forced backwards as that Heimerdinger finds two, and attached Inferno finds one, as Intoner is going to take the Drake, but it's not going to be able to do very much. DV's going to back. He is going to buy that Essence Reaver, which will not be able to help too much. It's mainly just built for mana anyway. We are going to see the objective bounty be taken. CMU 20 seconds until their mid laner is back, as DV is found once again in that back line. And Eastern Michigan is going to rout Central Michigan here in Game 2, looking to end here quickly as they find the bot lane with an unfortunately very decisive win from Eastern Michigan today.
Yeah, I think first game we really saw it in that Wukong, that jungle presence that Eastern had over CMU. This game, it's got to be really up to that Blitzcrank. I think a little bit of a weak start, missing that first hook, but he made up for it with the rest of the game. That is for sure.
Yeah, he missed that first hook, and he
said, "All right, it's time to lock in now."
Yeah, listen, I say he vowed to never miss another one again, and he lived up to that promise. He never missed another hook again, and he was ultra solid that entire rest of the game. And really not much to talk about CMU. They need it's more clear than ever that they need Pride. They need him here all the time, preferably. But he will be here for playoffs. So that's very important for CMU.
Very nice. Good to hear that. As that is our focal point. That is how we get through these games, I believe. We are able to work through that jungle jungle player. And he picks a lot of those roles or the champions that can actually do a lot of work in team fights. He's not passive. He's very active as a player.
Yes, for good and bad. Though usually it's good. It's good.
Typically it's very, very beneficial. CMU.
I mean, I think I would rather have a jungler that went 8-0 or 0-8 rather than a jungler that always went like 2-1.
Yeah.
I'd rather have an over-aggressive jungler than a tame one. And that's why we have one here so far this season. Turning to the future, in just a minute, we will have both Greyson and maybe one more. We're going to see. We're at least going to get Greyson in the booth here to talk to him a little bit about the season, talk a little bit about playoffs. And if you guys want to see that, please stay with us as we will come back in just a minute with him. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We have Greyson here today to talk a little bit about the season. So, how do you feel like the season went as a whole, from front to back? How do you feel like it went?
I've been here 3 years now, and I must say it's our best season yet. Won the most games, and we've definitely had the best vibes I've ever had here. So it's been fun playing here, and I'm excited to keep looking forward with it.
Yeah, it's been a great season to watch overall, from watching you guys improve to watching everything go. And now we are getting into playoffs as a whole. How do you guys feel going to playoffs for the first time in our League of Legends sort of short history? How do you feel about
Yeah, we're really excited. We're going to try some new things out in scrims this week, flip around roles, see what works for us. But we got a few weeks to set up for playoffs, spring break coming up. So we're looking forward to getting better and hopefully bringing some fun stuff to playoffs.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to watch you guys. We might be live here, either that or we're going to be live. You guys will be live on the ESC channel, so that'll be great to watch. Thank you all very much for tuning in, and we appreciate you guys watching us the entire season. Thank you all very much, and have a wonderful rest of your night, guys.